Hi, I am Vikas Jamoria, and on behalf of Capital Pi Investment Advisors and Research, today I am going to talk about the oil prices. In fact, the collapse of the oil prices. It was an epoch event in 2014, and never it happened in the history of the oil prices after 2008. Prices somewhere in the June were around $115, and today, while we are talking, the Brent actually touched $53. So it was in the preceding year, it was somewhere around $50 of the 50% of the price collapse, and this was something similar to the 2008 collapse of the oil prices. But in that case, the beauty was that the whole collapse was preceded by actually a rise in the prices of oil to $140 to $143, where Goldman actually at that time predicted that the prices will go to $200. So this is a one of its own kind of event, and it has got ramifications. If 2013 was the year for the destruction of gold prices, 2014 was the year of the collapse of the oil prices. And if there is any similarity, it ends here. Because this collapse of oil prices, what the right word is, the collapse of the oil prices in 2014 has far-reaching complications and ramifications on the global asset prices than gold. So we start from now. What were the reasons that the prices has gone down so badly and so fast? In fact, back in 2014 June, no analyst or economist have ever thought of predicting this kind of a fall. There was some kind of supply glut in the oil, and so as the demand was fading down, people thought that the oil prices would actually have a subdued year in 2014. But this was more than the subduedness. In fact, the prices collapsed 50% and more. The reason is the supply glut. Because of the new technologies coming around and the American shale oil experimentation coming to full fore. In fact, if you take today, America stands as the largest producer of oil, surpassing Saudi Arabia, and it produces something more than 9 million barrels per day. So the one reason is the supply glut, and people are producing at its maximum capacity as of now. Even in the November OPEC meeting, there was no thought of cutting down the production to stabilize the prices, which itself was very meaningful, and actually very many people thought that OPEC has lost its importance to bring back the prices. But had it been only the cutting the production and bringing back the demand, bringing back the supply down, things would have been more simple. As the case, it is not like that. Second reason is the demand is slackening because of deflation/recession coming down at the home of China, Eurozone and Japan. Japan in particularly, because of all the efforts done by Abenomics and Mr. Abe again getting back to the prime ministership, is not able to put back Japan in the chair, and the inflation is going down and the expectation for inflations are also not very much. Same is the case with the Eurozone, and China has got some kind of soft landing. This all doesn't bode well for the oil prices, as the demand is one of the most important factor to make oil prices where it stands now. And the third very important reason where people doesn't want to understand it fully is the geopolitics. The geopolitics in Middle East is more volatile than ever, as we understand that Iran has a long-standing tensions with US on its nuclear program and policies. US is a major ally with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is a Sunni state. Bashar al-Assad is an Alawite, and it has got a historical animosity with the Sunnis. ISIS, the breakaway faction which has got control over Syria, some part of Syria and Iraq, is Sunni, and so is the ruler of the Bahrain, which actually rules on the Shiite population. These all tensions in the Middle East rises because of the fall in the oil prices. As we understand that people have a theory that US and its major ally Saudi Arabia, who is a frontrunner in OPEC, actually got the oil prices down and to cut down the economic power or the military might of Russia. It is too childish to understand and really too much to give to the strategist from hell in USA. because Russia already was ruling under, the Russian economy was ruling under the sanctions imposed by US and EU, and so there is a complete collapse of the ruble and the oil prices are down. Russia collects 80% of its exports from the oil, and so the major backbone that actually Russia can need at this moment is the rise in the oil prices. And so people think that because of not cutting down the production, Saudi Arabia is trying to make oil prices to go where they are going now. That means all the way down. But that is not the case, because everybody, including US and Russia, are producing at the maximum, as there is only one thing what you can do is to produce oil at its maximum. And so Saudi Arabia is following the suit. So in the near term, we don't see any kind of production cuts, and so the oil prices have to stay down. Now, what our intention here is today is to understand where it takes us from here. There are certain intended and unintended consequences about this fall. So in the next part of this video, we will talk about the intended and the unintended consequences of the oil prices, collapse of the oil prices. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.